Okay, today what we're going to be talking about are reflections. Reflections, in our case in 7th grade math, what we're going to be saying is reflections are flipped objects over the origin. I'm sorry, over the axis. Okay, so we're going to be flipping objects over the x or y axis. We're not going to be flipping anything else generally in 7th grade math. So it's one type of transformation. There's all sorts of transformations. The dilations that we just talked about is a transformation as well. Reflections, remember, flip. That's a good way to remember. Every point on a reflection is the same distance. From the axis. Just happens to be on the other side. The shape or the object is the same shape and size, but is at a different view. All right, and finally, a reflection, real quickly, can be flipped over the x-axis and y-axis. And you're going to be seeing, once you get into higher math, where we can flip objects over over a different line or over the origin. But for us in 7th grade math, we're just going to be talking about the x and y axis. So here we have this image. We'll call this image 1. We'll call this image 2. Image 1 is reflected over the what axis? You can see it just went from up here, down here, so it's over the x-axis. There's our x-axis right there. This image, here's image 1, here's image 2. Image 1 got flipped over the what axis? And that would be y-axis. So let's go ahead and practice this, okay? Now, first thing it's asking us to do is to go ahead and graph the triangle at the coordinates. So we have x, which is -1, -1. Here we have y at 6, -1, over 6, down 1. There's y. And z, which is at -1, -6. So here's our z. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make this object into a triangle. Now it says reflected over the x-axis. So this is what I'm going to do. Take a look. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do it in a different color. If z is at -1 and down 6, z is going to still stay at -1 because it says reflect over the x-axis is going to be at -1, just up 6. It's the exact same distance, except it just happens to go up instead of down. If x is at -1, down 1, it's going to be at -1, up 1. So that was my z. This is my x. And if y is at over 6, down 1, then it's just going to be over 6, just up 1. And there's my y. And I would say x prime, z prime, y prime. You should remember that from the notes that we took on dilations. And see how the object just got flipped over the x-axis. All right, so now it says determine the coordinates of A, B, C. Well, let me go ahead and see here. Let's go ahead and label the coordinates first of all. I'll say that this is A, this is B, this is C, and this is D. Okay, so A is at -2, 1. B is at -2, 5. C is at -5, 5. and D is at negative 5, 1. All right. So now it says reflect over the y-axis. So I'm going to be flipping this object over the y-axis. So I'm going to take a look at this. If B is 2 back from 5, if it's up 5 and back 2, it's just, since I'm flipping over the y-axis, it's going to be the same distance from that 5. It's just going to be over there. If A is 2 off of that 1, it's just going to move to be here. So here's my A prime and my B prime. D prime, it's up 1 and back 5. Now it's just going to be over 5. And here my C, if it's back 5 there, I want to go over 5. So I label C prime and D prime. Okay, so let me go ahead and connect my points. A prime, B prime, C prime, and D prime. Now, I missed a piece before, so let's go ahead and take a look at this first and second example. For this first and second example, it said, what are the figure's new coordinates? So my X prime is going to be negative 1, positive 1. My Y prime is going to be positive 6, positive 1. My Z prime is going to be negative 1, positive 6. So if you take a look at that, when I reflect over the x-axis, this is just something to think about. When I reflect over the x-axis, my x values stayed the same. My y value on my point went from negative 1 to positive 1. Same with y prime. My x value stayed the same. It just went from negative 1 to positive 1. For z, it was negative 1 both times. For my x value, it went from negative 6 to positive 6. All right, that's what changed. Now, if I'm looking at this, where I reflect over the y-axis, my new points, A prime is going to be 2, 1. B prime is going to be 2, 5. C prime is going to be 5, 5. And D prime is going to be 5, 1. So if I look at that, when I reflect over the y-axis, okay, my x value changes from negative to positive. It turned to the opposite. My x value for B went from negative to positive. My y value stayed the same. My C went from negative to positive, and my D went from negative to positive as well. What I'd like you to do on your notes is to go ahead and try and do 3 and 4 on your own. Okay, the first for 3, it says reflected over the y-axis. And for number 4, it says reflect the image over the x-axis. Thank you.